everybody. Welcome back to the Mafia Meets Family podcast.
I'm Mafia Mom.
And I am Mini Mafia. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more awesome content.
So, hi, everybody. A little bit of a rough week, as I'm sure all of you out there had. What about you, Mini Mafia? First of all, let me just preface this. He's feeling a little under the weather today, so he's pushing through. But if he's a little hoarse or having a hard time hearing him, that's probably why. But he's trying to be a professional here, so he's pushing through. So, how was your week? Besides the Bills right now, how was your week?
Well, besides the Bills, my week was great.
Your week was great? Anything interesting to report?
Not really. Just school's been going good.
Yeah? Good. And the Bills game here. Let's start there. So I'd love to just pretend like it didn't happen, but we can't do that. So what'd you think of the Bills-Jets game?
I didn't necessarily like it. The Bills, they started out good, but then they just didn't. They didn't show up.
Yeah, the offense definitely had its struggles. I can't even say the offense in general. Allen had his struggles for sure. It was not the Allen we're used to seeing, and it was unfortunate to see them lose on a primetime game to open the season like that against a division rival. It was frustrating for sure. Anything else you want to add to that?
No.
All right. Well, let's get into our more detailed recap here then. Let's start with the bad. It's always better to end with the good. So what would you say the players that need to be better or the area that we need to be better moving forward? What would those be for you?
Well, for me, it would be Josh Allen. Of course, he didn't show up to play. And then Poyer. He did miss a couple big tackles, especially the 83-yard run by Breece Hall.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you there. We're obviously going to talk about Allen quite a bit during this podcast because I think we all understand what happened in that game. But I do have a slightly different perspective on some of it. I'll share a little bit later. But yeah, Allen clearly struggled. It wasn't even, look, the Jets defense is awesome. I'm not hating on it at all. Those weren't even earned turnovers. Allen was just giving the ball away. It was really bad. And I will say that I remember seeing interviews with Allen in the past. And he said that the game that really turned things around for him was his other 4 turnover game. It was against the Patriots. It was when Brian Daboll was still on the sidelines. I believe it was back in 2019, I want to say. But it may have been his rookie year. But he literally just threw the ball away 3 times to the other team. And Daboll got in his face and yelled and screamed. And he claims that was the moment that he really started to turn things around. So we'll see if this one has a similar effect. But at the end of the day, all QBs have games like this. I mean, Joe Burrow put up 4 turnovers last year, week 1. They put up 3 points on the Browns, a division rival, this year. KC struggled. I know it wasn't so much on Mahomes, but KC struggled. But Mahomes has had games where he struggled. There was a game against the Dolphins a year or 2 ago where he had 3 or 4 turnovers and took a 30-yard sack. We need to all relax a little bit, in my opinion. Calm down. It's still Josh Allen, and anybody who was around for the drought knows that he is the best quarterback that we've had on this team. Even if you want to argue Kelly, fine. But at least since Kelly, he's the best quarterback we've had. And it's not even close. I think he's won us far more games than he's lost. What do you think? You think it's a bigger issue with Josh, or you think it was one game and let's see what happens?
I think it's one game and see what happens. That wasn't the Josh that we normally see out there. I think he just needs to get a little warmed up and gets used to the pressure before he starts picking up.
I think that's fair. I would also agree with you on the Poyer one. We're used to seeing a certain level of play out of Poyer, and I think he took a couple bad angles and it hurt us. I don't think we lost the game because of him. I don't think you believe that either. At the end of the day, Allen's turnovers are what happened in that game. But yeah, Poyer definitely did not have his best game. For mine, obviously, I wasn't going to pick the same ones as you, so I'm going to go with the O-line. We knew it was going to be an issue coming in. I understand the Jets have a great pass rush. I want to see how it is moving forward. But they were giving up a lot of pressures very quickly in that game. And the Bills clearly went in with a game plan of getting the ball out as quickly as possible. And still, they were able to get to Allen a few times. Some of that was on him, but that right side of the line scares me. I'll talk about this a little bit later. But Max Crosby rushes from both sides. He is by far their best pass rusher for the Raiders. And I'm worried he's going to line up over Spencer Brown and just bull rush him back into Josh Allen's lap over and over again. So, we'll see what happens there. But my defense, my defensive things that need to be better is gap integrity on rushes. I believe after those two big runs, we really settled down and pretty much pinned them in offensively. But we gave up those huge runs. You had no Aaron Rodgers in. You're looking at Zach Wilson. You know they have to run the ball to beat you. And somehow you're still giving up these giant pops. I was hoping this would be better under McDermott. See what happens moving forward. But that was not a great representation of what I want our defense to be this year. Any thoughts on that? On the O line and the run defense?
Yeah, definitely. Our O line has to be better, especially the guards. Like, if somebody's coming from the edge, our guards can't let that up. And our run defense, we can't be letting up 60, 70, 80-yard runs every other drive.
Right. Yep, I think that's a good call. Real quick, just so you know, the guards are the ones right next to the center. The tackles are the ones on the outside. So if the rush is coming from the outside, it's the tackles. But I knew what you meant. All right, so now back to the positive sides of this game. Who would you say were your players of the game?
My player of the game would be Stephon Diggs, of course. I was right about my hot takes. Sauce did get exposed twice, so.
He did, and Diggs had a great game. He should have had 11 catches. I think he ended with 10 and right around 100 yards. Sauce didn't do much to slow Diggs down. I think even Davis caught a ball on Sauce, if I remember correctly. But I got to give it up to you. You 100% called it. That was your hot take last week, and you 100% called it. Diggs did burn Sauce for sure a few times. What? Do you have another MVP there?
Yes, my defensive MVP is Leonard Floyd. He had a really good game, especially for, I think, just coming to the Bills, right?
Yep, this was his first game with the Bills. I agree with you. I was confident in the pass rush, but I wanted to see how it was going to look without Von Miller in there. And I got to say, I feel super confident in giving Von Miller as much time as he needs. We want him for the playoffs. I think Leonard Floyd is filling in. He's going to fill in just fine. I know the Jets don't have a great O-line, but I still think I think that pass rush can still get home. And I can't wait to see what the defense looks like when Von comes back. And we have Leonard Floyd. Greg Rousseau, I think, also played a great game. You'll hear in a second, my defensive player of the game, I think, had one of the greatest games of his career. It was unbelievable. But that whole defense seemed to play really, really well. Okay, my players of the game, I would say on offense, I'm going to give it to a mixture between Cook and Kincaid. Cook didn't touch the ball a whole lot, but I thought he was effective when he did. I thought he made smart decisions, other than there was one time where he bounced it outside where he relied on his speed a little bit more than I would like him to, but it did work out on that one time. Just don't get in a habit of doing that. It's a little scary. Kincaid, I thought, had a really great first showing. He is going to be a big target for Allen all year, and they need to make sure that they are not getting away from him in the middle of the field because he's going to open things up on the outside. So those would be my players of the game. Kincaid ended up with 4 catches for 26 yards. I think that's a good rookie debut, especially considering Allen's struggles. And Cook ended up with 12 rushes for 46. So I think overall it was a good day. So now we are going to play Fact or Flag. This is a trivia game that we play. So you ready, PJ? Fact or Flag. All right, first one. Jimmy G has beaten the Bills twice when playing with the Pats. It was in 2014 and 2016. He beat the Bills 2 times. He played them twice and beat them twice. Fact or Flag?
I don't get the Pats.
Well, Jimmy G started with the Pats. Jimmy Garoppolo, yep, he was drafted by the Pats. He was to back up and then hopefully eventually replace Tom Brady. It didn't end up working out. He was traded, the whole thing. But he started his career with the Pats. So what do you think? Fact or Flag? He's beaten the Bills twice, both times when he was with the Pats.
Flag.
You think it's a flag? Good call. You're absolutely right. It is a flag. he did play the Bills twice technically. The first game he was only 10 for 17. It was 58% completions. He only threw for 90 yards. The second time he was only in for a very, very short bet. I think he completed one pass. I think he had like 3 attempts. So I don't even know if you could really count the second one. But if you look it up on StatMuse, both games do come up. So that second game they technically won, but again, Jimmy Garoppolo barely played. So as far as him actually playing versus the Bills defense, it was all the way back in 2014, but he is 0-1 against us. So we'll see what happens. All right, 1 for 1 so far. You're on a roll here with Factor Flag. All right. The Bills and the Raiders have played 42 times, and the series is tied 21-21. Remember, they are an AFC team, but they aren't in our division or anything. What do you think? 42 times, and it's tied 21-21.
I think it's a fact.
You think it's a fact?
It
Very
sounds
good.
just unbelievable to be right.
It is actually a fact. They have played 42 times and it is dead even, 21-21. So good job, 2 for 2. All right, on to the third one here. The Raiders have never started a season 2-0 with both wins being road wins. What do you think? Fact or flag? They've never started a season 2-0, both teams on the road. You think it's a flag? You are 100% right, man. 3 for 3. They actually, though, it's been a very long time. The last time they started 2-0 was all the way back in 1982, and those were with 2 road victories. I'm sorry, not the last time they started 2-0. The last time they started 2-0, both wins, road victories, was back in 2002. So, or I'm sorry, 1982. My goodness, I can't speak today. So it was a long time ago. This would be something that their franchise hasn't been able to accomplish in a while. So we'll see what happens. All right, before we move on to next week's game fully, I think since we're doing this podcast on Thursday nights, I think it's worth it to bring up, especially because the Eagles have a special place in our heart, right? So why do we like the Eagles?
Well, my other half of the family is from Lancaster, that's near Philly, so I'm a big fan of the Eagles too.
So we are Bills and Eagles fan here. I was born and raised in Buffalo. I bleed red, white, and blue. The Bills are my team. But especially because they're in the NFC, it makes it really easy. There's not usually conflict there. Definitely root for the Eagles too. And as Mini Mafia just pointed out, half our family is from over there. So we love the Eagles for sure. So the Eagles are playing tonight. They are playing at home after a troublesome start, I would say, in a sense. I think they struggled a little more than they thought they would against the Pats, who do have a great defense. But they're playing at home tonight against the Vikings. It's primetime Kirk Cousins. He always seems to struggle in prime time.
He always sucks in prime time.
So what do you think is
going
to happen?
I'm calling you
tonight?
out, Cousins.
All right. What do you think is going to happen tonight?
Well, a hot take or...
No. Just, well, your hot take isn't for this game, right? Do you have a hot take for the Eagles game?
Yeah.
What's your hot take for the Eagles game? Let's hear it.
I think Justin Jefferson is going to have less than 60 yards.
Wow. That would be a hot take for sure. I love the hot takes, man. You really, let's see how you do this year. We'll have to keep track. So far, you're 1-0. So we'll see how you do.
I think it'll be 2-0 this game.
So that's your hot take for tonight. I do not have a hot take for tonight. But what do you think is going to happen in the Eagles-Vikings game? What's your prediction here? How do you think they're going to do?
I think Jefferson is going to completely flunk. I think he's just going to have a bad game. Every player in the NFL has 1 or 2 bad games throughout the year. So I think this is going to be one of them. I think he's just not going to show up. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be his horrible self for prime time. And I think the Eagles are going to smoke him.
All right, so you think the Eagles win big? I would agree with you there. Patrick here shared that he needs Hurts tonight for fantasy. Well, I think you're in good hands. I think Hurts is going to have a big game personally. Actually, kind of funny, reminded me of something I saw on Facebook. Somebody put up their actual fantasy football lineup. And Monday night, they were up by 0.8 points. So 1 point and they lose. And the other team, they had no players left, and the other team only had Aaron Rodgers left. And they did not get that 0.8 points. So that was kind of funny. But anyway, back to the Eagles-Vikings. I agree. I think it's going to be a big win for the Eagles. I think they didn't like the way they played last week, and I think they're gonna want to come out. they also are at home. And whenever you're playing on a short week, not having to travel is a big deal because you get an extra day in there. So I see the Eagles having a big victory tonight, and I think Hurts is going to have a big game. I don't have Hurts in fantasy, but I did lay a couple prop bets down, and Hurts is one of them. So I need him to rack up the passing yards tonight. So it happens. But all right, so that's the Thursday night matchup. Let's move on to players to watch for this upcoming game. So who are your players to watch for the Bills Raiders game? Yes.
Patrick G. Mafia said, I want Allen, but my buddy Wade always snags him early.
It's a good catch there. We don't want to miss that one. Yeah, I'm sure Allen goes pretty early in a lot of drafts, and if you're playing with other Bills fans, I'm sure you got to be one of the
this guy
very early in the draft order in order to grab him.
Yeah. I think this guy does too.
Yeah, I would say Diggs probably goes early. However, if I'm being objective, he probably would not be in my top 3 receivers I would take. And that's nothing against Diggs. I think he's phenomenal, but there's other receivers that really carry their team. Like they're the only option. And I think those are safer bets for fantasy. But yeah, I think Allen and Diggs probably both go very early. So back on to this upcoming matchup. So it's Bills Raiders. It's our home opener. I'm expecting a serious bounce back game in this one. But who are your players to watch?
My offensive player to watch is Dalton Kincaid. He had a decent rookie game last game. But Josh needs to work the middle of the field. He needs to get Kincaid the ball more. Like he was open like 5-6 times last game, and Allen just didn't see him. He needs to make his reads faster, and just see if he can like float it over the top to Dalton Kincaid on some of them.
I agree with you there. I think the middle of the field is the key to Allen cutting down on his turnovers. We all saw that running lane on that first interception that Allen threw, and it was wide open. But I can't even fault him for that one. I moved past that one pretty quickly. It was third down. We pinned him inside the 5. It is what it is. You took a shot. You get a flag on that play a lot of times. Like good things can happen. Whatever. The other 2, though, he had guys open in the flat on both of those interceptions, and he forced it instead. And it's frustrating to watch him do that. But I agree with you. The Dalton Kincaid is a key to fixing that issue. Because if instead of looking for the 50-yard bomb to your smallest receiver who's being doubled, Deontay Hardy, you just get it across the middle to Dalton Kincaid, let him pick up 8 yards. Maybe he breaks a tackle and it goes for 25. Who cares? At least we're not turning the ball over. So I agree with you. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to have a good game. It's his first time playing in front of Bills Mafia, so that should be good. Patrick there in the chat mentioned don't overthink, right? Yeah, I completely agree. Like it doesn't need to be perfect every time. Just play common sense football, Josh. That's all we need you to do, man. What about on defense? Who would be your player to watch on defense? And anybody in the chat, if you have a player to watch, please share it as well.
I think Tre'Davious White is another player to watch. He had a bounce back game versus the Jets, and I think he's going to continue that. And that also goes into my hot take.
Okay, we will definitely get to your hot take here in a minute for sure. I want to see, you put one out there last week and you were right. So yeah. I think I don't even think he had 40 yards. I think he had like 34 yards. Garrett Wilson did catch the touchdown, but there wasn't much more Trey White could do. He played that perfectly. I thought Trey White had a great game. It looked like vintage Trey White to me for the first time since the injury. So I was very excited to see him out there. Patrick pointed out Bernard. That's actually my player to watch. I was impressed with him. I know we gave up some of those big runs. I'm not a film person. I don't sit down and watch the all 22 and all that, but Bernard did not appear to be the one that was out of position on any of those big runs. I thought he played a really great game. He made some really solid plays. Him and Milano, who I'm not even sure if I might have skipped over that earlier. That was my defensive player of the game from last week. I think Milano played one of the best games of his career. But him and Bernard together seem to be working really well, and I'm excited to see this defense moving forward with the two of them. I think they're both very, very good. I actually was also impressed with Bedford. I thought he played really well on the back end. I think he gave up a couple catches, but he was right there. It's not like he was just beat. He just, sometimes guys are going to make good catches. You got to live with that. But
especially that Garrett Wilson touchdown.
Yeah, but I thought, that one was on Trey White. But yeah.
It was the triple tip.
Yeah. I thought, though, Bernard played really well, and I'm excited to see him moving forward. His strength was clearly Tremaine Edmonds' weakness, which is hitting, like trusting your instincts and just hitting it. And I think he is a much better instinctual player than Edmonds. He's a little undersized, but I'm excited to see him going forward. My offensive player to watch is going to be Spencer Brown. This is probably going to be a reoccurring theme, just like turnovers, which I feel like are just too obvious to even say at this point. Um, you want to read that comment from Patrick before I get to the offensive line?
Yes. Defense did their job. At least Josh took the blame. He knows.
Yep. And I agree. And that's what you want to see out of your quarterback. I don't know how many of you follow other teams, but the Jets ran into an issue last year with Zach Wilson making excuses after a bad game. And I don't want my quarterback to do that. Josh knows he's the reason why we lost that game, and he said it. And I think he meant it. It's okay. It's one game, but figure out how to fix it moving forward. So my offensive player of the week to watch, like I said, is Spencer Brown. Again, this goes back to Max Crosby. The Raiders pass rush starts and ends with Max Crosby. So if you can keep Max Crosby out of the backfield, you're doing a good job. And since Crosby can line up on either side of as an end, obviously I think he'd rather take his chance with Spencer Brown than Deion Dawkins. So I really need Spencer Brown to step up. Also, for the record, I'll just throw this in there. We mentioned the other two young guys who played. I also thought Torrance had a good game. Again, didn't like sit down and watch where all the pressures came from super close, but I did not notice him getting beat with any consistency. So he was impressive to go up against that Jets front for your first start ever in the NFL. I thought he played really well. So any thoughts on Bernard or Spencer Brown?
No, not really. Just I like to see Bernard out there. Instead of the new guy from the Texans, I keep on forgetting his name.
Kirksley.
Yeah, Kirksley.
Something like that.
I like to see Bernard out there. He's been with the team longer. He knows the guys more. Also, Spencer Brown, he really needs to show up this game against Max Crosby. Max Crosby is probably one of the best defensive linemen in the entire football league. He would be in my top 10 favorites.
I think he's a top 10 edge rusher, yeah.
He's a really good edge rusher, so I'm worried about that. Just I hope Spencer Brown can hold him off from Josh, and if he doesn't, I hope that Josh can make up for it.
Yep, I'm with you there. Excuse me, I'm with you there for sure. So yeah, Terrell Bernard, Spencer Brown, those are my players to watch, and PJ's are it was Kincaid and Trey White. So we'll see how those four guys do, and we'll come back and touch base about that next week. All right, so on to the Allen stat line. So, what was that?
I want to go first.
You want to go first? Okay. So let's hear it. What do you think the Allen stat line is going to be? And if anybody else wants to share theirs, please feel free to.
Well, I think the Josh Allen stat line, I think he's going to have 263 yards, no turnovers, 3 touchdowns, 54 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown, and I think he's going to go 23 for 31.
Okay. I would take that for sure. I think the no turnovers is the biggest thing there. I'll even give up 1 or 2 of the touchdowns if you don't turn the ball over. So I think that's the most important thing. However, I'm in the same area as you. I have him with a little bit more yards. I think he's going to have a big bounce back game. So I'm expecting to see around 320 passing yards. I don't think he's going to rush a whole lot in this game. 3 touchdowns, and again, 0 turnovers. That's what the rest of it, I don't care. I don't care if he throws for 140 yards. If he has 0 turnovers, I think it was a good day. So that would be my hope for this game, at least. He needs it just for his own confidence, I think. He needs a game with no turnovers. All right. So we're going to move on now to the hot take. So
I want you to go first.
my hot take last week was very wrong. I said that James Cook and Damian Harris would outgain Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. That did not happen. After that first long run by Breece Hall, I figured I was probably wrong, and I definitely was. My hot take for this week is, and again, I'm not sure how hot it really is, but I think Gabe Davis will lead all of our pass catchers in yards this week. I think Diggs will still get most of the targets and probably have more catches, but I think Davis is going to take the top off at least once, and I think he's going to have a huge impact in this game. So I think Gabe Davis is going to be a big time player this week.
My hot take is very spicy.
Okay, let's hear it.
I think Devontae Adams will have a bad game.
A bad game. Now, can you define a bad game? Like, give me a mark. What do you think he's going to be?
Kind of like the Justin Jefferson. I think he's just going to flunk this game. I don't think he's going to have that many yards. I think he's going to have like 50 or 60 max. I think he's going to have like 4 catches. I don't think he's going to play that good. I think Trey White's going to lock him down.
Okay.
Put the strap on.
I got to say, I think based on playing styles, I think Trey White should do better against Adams than he did against Garrett Wilson. And he clearly did very, very well against Garrett Wilson. So I love that take, and fingers crossed. Let's hope that you go 3 for 3. It'll be at that point if you also get the one about Justin Jefferson right for tonight's game. So again, any hot takes, please feel free to share in the chat or comment them below. Love to hear what you guys think, as well as the Josh Allen stat line. If you have anything there you want to share. All right, on to the last segment of our show here, which is the final score prediction. So obviously, neither one of us got it right last week. I don't think either one of us were even that close. Let's see. What you want to go first or second this time?
Second.
You want to go second? Okay. I expect the Bills to come out angry, and I expect them to want to prove a point. We're very fortunate that a lot of competitive, a lot of teams that are expected to compete for the Super Bowl did not play well last week. Real quick, before I get into the score prediction, there is one thing that I wanted to share. I think there is an upside to what happened with the offense on Monday night. And it's kind of a long shot. It's a pipe dream probably, but I'm going to share it here just in case it happens. I think Mike Evans is going to be available for a trade from the Buccaneers before the trade deadline this year. And if our offense is clicking on all cylinders, Brandon Beane will not make a play for him. It doesn't make sense to. If our offense appears to be struggling, especially against good defenses, the kind we're going to face in the playoffs, it definitely motivates Beane to try to make a play for Mike Evans. Now, not only does getting Mike Evans, I think, take our offense from inconsistent high ups, low downs to probably the most threatening offense in the NFL, but it also keeps him away from the Chiefs, because anybody who watched that game last Thursday saw how bad the Chiefs struggled without Kelsey. And Kelsey's getting up there in age. If the Chiefs have a chance to go all in for a Mike Evans for a year or two, I think they're going to do it in hopes that those other wide receivers develop behind him. So it's twofold why I want Beane to go after Evans, but I don't see him going after him if we are blowing teams out like we started last year. So that is an upside to me to the way we played Monday night. The offense struggled at times. I'm not sure an extra pass catcher would have made a huge difference, but I do think that'll be more motivation for Beane to actually make a play for him. And Joey here, Mike Evans is an elite receiver that would change our whole offense. I totally agree with you. Mike Evans is elite. He is I believe the only receiver to have at least 1,000 receiving yards in each of his first 9 seasons. The guy is just money. I mean, he just contested catches, being physical. He's even a good blocker. He just all around a solid player. And I think personality wise, he would fit in great with Buffalo. I was about the Hopkins thing when there were all those rumors. I wanted him, but I was afraid he would be toxic in the locker room. Who would you rather have, Mike Evans or DeAndre Hopkins?
Honestly, I'd rather have Mike Evans. Mike Evans is just more humble. He's a friendly, nice guy, and I think he's better than Hopkins.
I agree.
Like a lot better.
And Hopkins also has the injury concerns. So that was just my own little tidbit I wanted to throw in there, because I really do believe that if the offense continues to struggle against good defenses, the kind of defenses we're going to face in the playoffs, I think Beane is more likely to try to pull the trigger on a trade for Mike Evans before the trade deadline. So fingers crossed he doesn't end up with the Chiefs, because I don't want to see Mike Evans catching passes from Patrick Mahomes. That's scary to me. Okay, so my final score prediction for the Raiders-Bills game coming up. Joey here sharing that there's already reports that KC has looked into it. Yeah, KC seems to be putting their toes in the water whenever a big name free agent comes up. So that does not surprise me at all. They were one of the favorites for Hopkins for a while, Dalvin Cook. Like, they're going to continue to pursue these guys because they know that they could use another weapon. And at this point, if you have the choice, I know Mike Evans wouldn't need to be being traded, but you have the choice to go to the Chiefs or the Bills when the Chiefs have won two rings recently. I got to say, I think that's where you go. If you're going to be going for the purpose of winning a Super Bowl and not going for a paycheck, which neither one of those teams are going to give you. But yeah, I'm sure they are in on Mike Smith. And he's not injury prone, only a couple in his career. Yeah, Joey, great point. DeAndre Hopkins scares me a lot more with the injuries, and I just don't like his personality. So I'm Mike Evans, I'm all the way. He's the best receiver for the Bills that has come up since Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs. He's the best option. So I would love that would be one upside if the Bills offense continues to struggle. Okay, now I keep saying this, but I'm actually going to give it now. On to my prediction for the Raiders-Bills game. I think the Bills are going to have a really good offensive performance, and I think if you put the game in Jimmy Garoppolo's hands, it's going to allow our defense to kind of tee off. So if you can get up big early, it's going to put us in a good position. Jimmy G is not known for putting teams on his back and carrying them to the finish line. So my final score prediction for this game is going to be 38-17. I think we'll be sitting starters by the end of the game. I don't, if we struggle this week, I'm worried. At home against the Raiders, I really want to see our offense go out there and play their hearts out. So what about you?
Well, mine is only a couple scores higher than yours. I have the Bills winning
38-17. Still cooking. I totally agree with you there. The thing with Hopkins is that I don't think he has any heart. I think he could still be a top 3 receiver, but the guy has said it before. Like, I don't need to practice. I show up on Sundays. Like, that is not the kind of personality I want in my locker room. If I'm McDermott or if I'm Allen or if I'm, I also think that ego wise, it could cause some problems with Diggs. So, uh, so I'm glad that Hopkins wasn't the one that we brought in. However,
sorry.
I think Evans is still, I'm not going to say he's in his prime, but he's still up there. And I think he's one of the better contested catch guys out there, which is what we need because Diggs is the elite route runner. But I would love to see Hopkins out there. Or I'm sorry, I would love to see Evans out there with contested catches. So all with you there. This is from Joey. Josh Allen in the offense is going to click this week. The defense will be on point. Hopefully, Puna Ford comes to play and gets on the field. 42 Buffalo, 24 Raiders score during garbage time. That's pretty close to what you said. Almost exactly what you said. So I'm all for it. I'd love to see those scores. Either way, I think we're all agreeing that we doubt it's going to be close. And I don't want to see a close game. I think for the Bills' confidence, they need to go out there and blow a team out. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. They need to blow a team out just to it's just like starting a mower.
Yep.
Put the choke on, and then you it takes a couple of tries. For the Bills, it might take a couple games for us to get jump started. So
yeah, well, hopefully this is the one that jump starts us because the second half of the season is not going to be easy. So you need to go into it with a good mindset. You need to have your confidence at a really high point because the last like 8 games of the season get real rough. So let's blow some teams out now and get that confidence up while we can. Anything else that you would like to add before we sign off?
no.
No? Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us in the chat tonight. We hope you come back next week, same time, same place, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on Mafia Sports Report. There's also a lot of really great videos that Mafia Sports Report does and a bunch of other people on his channel. One short I just checked out earlier, apparently a Bills reporter. I won't say who it was, but if you hear the voice, I think you'll know who it was. Got caught on a hot mic making some comments about Diggs that I don't think are going to go over well. As far as all that goes, I think people need to give Diggs a break. If you go to the Buffalo Plus YouTube page, they have sideline reporters, and the one guy who was on the sideline for them, Dan, mentioned that during that Jets game, that Diggs was the one coming off the field telling everybody, keep your chin up, telling everybody, we got this, we're good. He was the one being positive. So I think everybody needs to cool on Diggs a little bit. His ego is not out of control. He's not a cancer in the locker room. He's not causing problems. He's being a good teammate and a good leader. And you know what? If Josh has 4 turnovers in this game, I hope Diggs gets in his face and yells at him, because he's got to stop turning the ball over. So Josh is a grown man, and he knows that he's screwing up, and he's not gonna get his feelings hurt because somebody calls him on it. So, oh, there we go. So Joey brought it up. Maddie Gladstone's hot take. Yeah, it was very unprofessional, and it's unfortunate because I like Maddie, but I think it might end up costing her job. You can't go after a star player like that. You got to make sure nobody's listening. Maddie Glab had some comments about Diggs's personality that got caught on a hot mic that she didn't know was recording. It was not nice. It was not pleasant. I'm sure Diggs did not appreciate it. We'll see what happens. She works for the Bills, so
I don't think this guy would appreciate it. I don't think he did.
I'm sure he did not appreciate it. And if you're a teammate of Diggs's or Diggs, how do you go in and answer a question from her moving forward when you know that's how she talks about players behind their back? It stinks, because I think Maddie Glab was a light, fluffy, like, she was a good reporter not for like in-depth stuff, but just, it was cute stuff that she did with the players, 21 questions or whatever. It was definitely unprofessional. They're priming their engine, my friend. That's what he's saying about your analogy there about getting the engine going. So, all right, well, let's hope so. So everybody, please come back, and we'll be celebrating a victory next Thursday, right? Hopefully, yes. Lots of snacks. All right, we'll have to explain that one on the next episode. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight, and until next time, go Bills.
Go Bills, everybody.